These are times that try men's souls. Words from Thomas Paine. Actually, Crisis 13 is what we're going to be talking about today. And I think that it's very apropos that we go back and we take a look at what our founding fathers thought this nation, the United States of America, could and could not endure. And it actually leans very, very well. It's all very much in support of the Christian worldview and why the Christian worldview is the only worldview well suited to build a civilization upon. We're going to explore that today in the light of the passing of Charlie Kirk, but also the ICE shooting this last week and some of the thoughts that we've seen coming out of the mainstream media, some of the very, very poorly formed thoughts. We're going to tackle all of that today and kind of do a post-mortem on our culture. Then, of course, you need to wait around a little bit because we have some insurance fraud we got to talk about with Nikki Knows Facts and, of course, a good song review in the Screw Tape Letter. So all of that here today on Further Every Day. Howdy, Jonathan Fiala for Further Every Day. Steve, get in here. Steve's late.
Well,
So don't talk. They can't hear you until you get in here. How's it going, Miss Nikki?
it's going well. Charlie's not here today. He's not feeling well. He needed to be home. He needed to be home. He needs to
He
sleep
worked
today.
hard this week.
He did.
How many hours did he work this week? Like 60, 70?
You know, I don't know. I didn't count. I just know he started feeling poorly yesterday, and he got home last night, and this morning he just didn't feel any better. And it's like, and he's got a long day tomorrow, so he really needs to rest. He needs some sleep.
If you're in our live audience, be praying for Kathy. But also, if you're on PSB, you're familiar with that. If you're one of our regular listeners, hundreds of thousands of downloads, thank you for those on the audio. Also on Rumble and YouTube, you can catch us there. But if you're one of those, make sure, if you want, you can join us live 1 to 3 Central Standard Time, God's time zone, on Rumble, Vaughn.live or DLive at PSB's channel. So we want to thank them for having us on and hosting us. So, praying for Kath, but also pray for Charlie. Charlie's just, he needs a rest day. He needs a good day. He's feeling a little bit under the weather. So to my left, I got Steve. How's it going?
Yes, sir. I am doing very well today.
Glad to have you there.
Mr. Arthur.
Mr. Arthur.
Mr. Arthur. John.
A common misconception. It is Fiala. It is not Arthur.
Oh, that's what it is. That's right.
That's like me saying
Fiala.
It's like Mr. V. Because I cut Steve in half. You cut my name in half.
Oh,
Mr.
V.
As opposed to V and then
I think that's gonna.
Yes.
I think that's gonna stick.
I'm gonna call him. And then we got Ry, the producer guy in the producer's chair. How's it going, bro?
I think I'm doing well.
You think you're doing well? You were until that just happened. So, on to more thoughtful,
more intellectual
musings here. Maybe a little bit more intellectual, a little bit less silly. So, it's been a rough month. Okay, we can afford to be a little bit silly.
Yes.
It's been rough. So. We're going to kind of home in a little bit on Thomas Paine. And again, the American crisis is something that I had a classical education with a focus on American history. The American crisis is not something that I read all the way through. And when I go back and I read the words of Thomas Paine, I think everyone in this room and those in the audience are also going to benefit from just kind of this reflection on what makes a country livable. Let me set the table for you. So just to go to the American Crisis, Chapter 13, Thomas Paine had been, we already covered American Crisis 1 or 2 it was a few weeks ago. The American Crisis were a set of pamphlets that Thomas Paine wrote and put out during the Revolutionary War. And 13 was written in April 19th, 1783. This is at the end of the war. So he has the retrospective on the war here, what makes America America, these new colonies, this new confederation that is being formed. He's looking on it and he's saying, what's going to make this work? And how do we move on from war and into peacetime? And I think you're going to find, again, if you're watching this live or in the year of our Lord 2025, September, you've been through some trying times with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of ICE agents, which led to the death of deportees the very people this person said he cared about. We're going to talk about the shooter. We're going to talk about why he's not right wing. Give you some of the cues and clues if you have not seen that yet. But before we get to that, I want to pull back and focus in on the words of Thomas Paine. So let's go ahead, and we're not going to read the whole chapter because it is long, but we're going to pull some excerpts out of it. So that's going to be cut number 1, Mr. Producer. Thoughts on the Peace, Improbable Advantages Thereof is the title. These are times that tried men's souls, and they are over, and the greatest and completest revolution the world ever knew, gloriously and happily accomplished. But to pass from the extremes of danger to safety, from the tumult of war to the tranquility of peace, though sweet in contemplation, requires a gradual composure of the senses to receive it. Now, I don't want to necessarily apply that to today's day, but I do want to say this. We do need to know what we're going to do with the left when we beat them in the ballot box, when we beat them in the culture. We do need to know, because you have to remember, a lot of the people who were in the colonies were Tories. And these are people who did not, they were anti-separatists.
I think the statement, these are times that try men's souls, I think that's very applicable for today, because what we have found, and I think what people since the death of Charlie Kirk, was there is no common ground here. And there's a large number of people with a microphone promoting a false narrative that how do you combat that?
Yeah.
And Thomas Paine at that time, I mean, I know a lot of people don't understand history. They don't understand how critical holding the colonies together after winning the war. They really don't understand, because it's not studied anymore.
You had Canada. Canada to the north was a British holding. You had the French and the Spanish ownership in other places. And the Portuguese were not out of the picture either.
Well, and then you have the internal issues.
Correct.
The Northern had a culture, the South had a culture because of the slavery issue. And it was an issue even back then. And they were very independent minded. I mean, when do we first see the federal government? I mean, states, if you were part of a colony and you just got your freedom from England, you're not looking to be obedient to a federal government.
Yeah. We want less centralized government.
Absolutely.
In that moment, that's what everyone was thinking.
That's right.
So absolutely agree. So he's taking this moment, he's saying, okay, so where are we now? And he goes on a little bit further. And again, I think it's a disservice that we don't speak in some of the longer prose. We don't think our thoughts through before they exit our face holes. Like it just blathers out, and we're in a world where things just flow. So just listen to this, cut number 2, Mr. Producer. He goes on to continue to say, even calmness has the power of stunning. When it opens too instantly upon us, the long and raging hurricane that should cease in a moment would leave us in a state rather of wonder and enjoyment, and some moments of recollection must pass before we could be capable of tasting the felicity of repose. There are but few instances in which the mind is fitted for sudden transitions. It takes in its pleasures by reflection and comparison, and those must have time to act before the relish of new scenes is complete. We need to take a moment. We need to think. We have just won this conflict, says Thomas Paine. We're winning the culture war right now. We haven't gotten to a revolutionary war. These people have been through a revolutionary war.
Right.
This is where we could be in 10 years. I hope not. I hope to God not. But we just won the culture war in part, and they're firing shots back. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and let's think about where we are as a conservative movement. You got to begin with the end in mind. Where do we want to go?
Can I just make this statement here? Is that the conservative movement has ideas, has a foundation. The extreme left has ideology that is not sustainable. Okay? It's not sustainable. And so when you come down to a difference in ideas, which is where we're at, I believe the conservative will always win because the other side is not sustainable. And they will, when people realize it's not sustainable, they jump ship. Mm-hmm. They jump ship.
100% correct. 100% correct. So what we need to be doing right now is actually focusing on the foundations. We need to
Yes.
shore up the foundations. We need to be, in truth, ready to give an answer.
Yes.
And so, by the way, some people say, "Hey, you guys say that you're an apologetics channel, but you talk about politics." Jesus talked about politics. Jesus debated in the Sanhedrin. If you don't understand who the Sanhedrin were, Council of 70, one was the Supreme Court justice, one was the executive, and then the rest were the Senate. Okay? You had your three houses of what we see here today in America. You had three houses in the Sanhedrin. Jesus debated. Is the equivalent of someone going and doing a pro-life testimony in Congress was Jesus speaking about the sacrifices and the perversion and bastardization of the Jewish religion. Okay, it is very much the same. Today we see morality being enforced by the government, rightfully so. That's the government's job. The problem is it's been done perversely. So yes, we are going to talk about that. And further to that point, Thomas Paine, cut 3. In the present case, the mighty magnitude of the object and the various uncertainties of fate it has undergone, the numerous and complicated dangers we have suffered or escaped, the eminence we now stand on, and the vast prospect before us must all conspire to impress us with contemplation. Flowery language. We just went through all of this. We have a moment to think. We have a moment to think, so let's think. Next cut, Mr. Producer. It is not among the least of the calamities of a long-continued war that it unhinges the mind from those nice sensations which at other times appear so amiable. The continual spectacle of woe blunts the finer feelings, and the necessity of bearing with the sight renders it familiar. In like manner are many of the moral obligations of society weakened till the custom of acting by necessity becomes an apology where it is truly a crime. Sound familiar today?
Give it to us in layman terms so everybody understands.
Modern day terms, you see this much violence. You normalize this kind of bloodshed, this kind of thought that man against man, family member against family member. We become dulled to it in the finer senses of love, charity, compassion for one's fellow man. Dim.
And that's obvious because the would-be assassin for President Trump, the first one, the assassin of Charlie Kirk, the assassin for the ICE, these are all very young people who are familiar with a woke agenda, a woke environment, and also the video games and what they see on television that has caused them, like you said, to be dull. They don't see consequences. They
Correct.
do not see consequences. We have failed this younger generation to realize the consequences of your actions.
Correct.
And they feel justified. They truly do feel justified.
Well, they feel like they're fighting a war against, and they are. They are fighting a war in good and evil. The problem is they're deceived. They are on the side of evil.
Yes, and I think, and we've come to this point where you've heard this said, if words are now violence, then taking action against those that are speaking words of violence is justified.
And that's where we are.
You know, I find it interesting, this last sentence here. In like manner are many of the moral obligations of society weakened till the custom of acting by necessity becomes an apology.
Where it is a true crime.
And that, when you think about it and apply it to today, I mean, you think about it. Here's this guy that's writing how many years ago?
Yep.
So applicable to what is happening today.
It's because it's written on biblical principles. It's why
Exactly.
that's why a lot of these founding documents we're reading.
That
because
is
they were founded on
exactly
biblical
right.
principles.
And that's the thing right there, John Arthur, is it's written on biblical principles, and biblical principles will hold true from the beginning of time till
Through.
the end of time.
And on.
Constantly on till eternity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to that end, actually, he goes and lays out just a little bit further in the next cut, Mr. Producer, what a nation needs. So, yet, let but a nation conceive rightly of its character, and it will be chastely just in protecting it. None ever began with a fairer than America, and none can be under a greater obligation to preserve it. Its character. America's character must be preserved. The debt which America has contracted compared with the cause that, she has gained and the advantages to flow from it ought scarcely to be mentioned. She has it in her choice to do and to live as happily as she pleases. The world is in her hands. She has no foreign power to monopolize her commerce, perplex her legislation, or to control her prosperity.
Boy, I wish that was for today.
I wish it was true today because that's
truly
where we
do.
started.
Man.
That's where we started. But
Yeah.
yet let but a nation conceive rightly of its character, and it will be chastely just to protect it. The simplification in the modern lexicon, the modern vernacular, what the kids would say, if a nation is rightly set to do good, then everything that it does to defend itself will be just.
Absolutely. But
And, and you have to know what's right and wrong to start from there.
well, and there's going to be the problem.
That's the rub today.
So, but let me just share this with you. Donald Trump saw the problems when 2020 hit and COVID hit. We are held hostage by other countries.
100%.
He just put 100% tariffs on pharmaceuticals. Is that to hurt the American people? No, it's not. He wants us to be self-sufficient. And anybody, I understand we make money from other countries and it might be more expensive, but do we want to be held prisoner by other countries?
And do we want majority of our pharmaceuticals coming from
China.
China?
China. Yeah, absolutely not.
Really?
Absolutely not.
You know,
Exactly.
we would break the back of Russia if Europe did not need their oil.
If they stop buying their oil.
If they, and Europe is prisoner. If they stop buying oil, it's going to hurt their people really bad. But this is what we've done. We've set ourselves up because we wanted the extra money. We wanted that, commerce internationally. And now,
Well, we didn't want it. Wall Street wanted it.
Yes.
And we so happily sold Main Street out the
Yeah.
door.
Oh, yeah, we
And
did.
that's the big issue. And Trump very eloquently, and a lot of squishes, a lot of the people on the right who are kind of a little bit
Squishy?
the panican sort of people, as Trump has coined it. Again, Trump does some things right. He's very good with branding. He's very good with branding. The panicans want to come out and they want to say, oh, you can't do it this way. It was always done this way up until the last 100 years.
Yes.
And the 1913s where a lot of things changed, and significantly for the worse. Not a good thing. We could do without that. But now we are sometimes held back. But I agree with you. You pulling that out. That was a different era. And it can be this era, and Trump's trying to make it this era. But I'd also say we need to justly pick and choose our character.
absolutely, I agree.
So it is not in numbers, but in a union that our great strength lies. This is number 6, Mr. Producer. That the continent is just arrived at that pitch of strength in which no single colony is able to support itself, and the whole, when united, can accomplish the matter, and either more or less than this might be fatal in its effects. If you want to, I just want to pull back to slavery real quick. during the Constitutional Convention, and just a few years later, in 1790, I believe it was, when the Quaker delegation came with Benjamin Franklin to the founding articles of the Constitution meetings, and they were trying to hammer out a good Constitution. Franklin came and said, "You can't continue slavery," and this was the general ethos of the North. You cannot continue in slavery.
John Arthur, would you please explain to us why they felt that way?
Multiple reasons. A is a very liberal view of the Bible, and it comes from this theology of black people being the descendants of Cain. Someone's going to take that out of context, but I'm just saying, fast forward 15 minutes or 15 seconds one way or the other, and you'll see the truth. The idea that black people are the descendants of Cain and they have the curse of Cain upon, Cain upon them. That whole theology, a horrible bastardization of exegesis. And exegesis, for those who aren't familiar, is when you're reading the scripture, you're looking at the context in which it was written, to whom it was written, and how it was written, and the language it was written. What does it mean, right? So then this is an eisegesis, okay, where they take this and they put their own idea upon it, okay? The liberal South believed that. The fact that they believed that allowed them to dehumanize other people, which is what we see today, by the way. We see that still happening with Nazis and fascists.
So I'd like to
Jump in.
So another thing is they thought black people didn't have souls, so God did not care. But
It all comes out
could
of
it
that.
be that the Bible talks about indentured servant, being an indentured servant, not chattel slavery like we had back
Correct.
then? And could it be that some northern people saw this biblically incorrect, and that God would not bless us with this in our nation?
With this horrible, horrible idea. In fact, Benjamin Franklin actually said as much.
Yes,
And so just before we got to the 3/5 compromise, because there were people, half the nation was at bat. But what Thomas Paine was saying in this one text is, we can't survive as a nation without banding together. So unfortunately, horrible compromises were made. Compromises that the conservative right of the day considered to be horrific.
So can I add here, as far as theology goes, the Lord said in the Old Testament, I would have done this except you had hard hearts and hard minds.
Yep.
And so the compromise, which came from the north to the south, was they would have broken up as a nation
Correct.
if they had tried to force that at that time because of the hardness
Because of the hardness of
of
the
it,
heart.
and the sin.
Correct.
All it was.
Correct. So just to continue, Mr. Producer, is going to be cut number 7. With the blessings of peace, independence, and a universal commerce, the states individually and collectively will have leisure and opportunity to regulate and establish their domestic concerns, and to put it beyond the power of the colony to throw the least reflection on their honor. Character is much easier to keep than recovered. And that man, if any such there be, who from sinister views or littleness of soul lends unseen his hand to injure it, contrives a wound it will never be in his power to heal. Your character is easier to maintain than it is to recover it.
Yes.
It is easier to maintain a good character. It is the same with your name. I'm not against Elon Musk, but inferring that Trump is a pedophile, you can't unring that bell. I don't hate the people at MSNBC, CNN, any of these other places. I hate what they do, but you can't unring the bell of these people are Nazis. These ICE agents are Nazis. Charlie Kirk is a Nazi. You can't unring that bell. Charlie Kirk is dead.
They know what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing.
So let me just share this with you. A pastor had a woman in the church that was going out and spreading all kinds of gossip. Felt convicted, came to the pastor, said, you know what, I'm really sorry. I'd said this. He goes, well, I'm very grateful that you're apologizing. But if you go and you take a pillow and you slit the pillow and you throw out all the feathers, can you go collect them all back and put them back in the pillow? Those news agencies, they know exactly what they're doing.
There are people, the ICE shooter probably believes Trump said there were good people on both sides. They probably believe that he said that without the context of 2 seconds later. Remember, I said 15 seconds before, 15 seconds after. That matters. He said, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis. Those people should be condemned. There are people, and the ICE shooter probably believed this. The guy who killed Charlie Kirk probably believed this, that Trump thought neo-Nazis were good people. You can't unring that bell. There are people that will go to their grave believing what Elon Musk said. In whatever tit for tat, in whatever moment, they're going to believe Trump is on the Epstein list for doing bad things. Of course, Trump's on the Epstein files. There is no Epstein list, no exact list.
No.
But there's a miasma of files that I think should be looked at a lot closer, and we really should go after those people.
We need to, but I agree. If a person is in the files and they just had business with Elon Musk and they never...
You shouldn't just release that.
No, because people are going to automatically assume that they did something illegal, and you need to protect those people too. Epstein was a pig.
Yeah.
Okay? He was a pig.
A vile person.
And and I feel very sad for those young women that were girls and what happened. But you cannot prosecute people with an accusation. You actually have to have proof, and it's
agreed. And
terrible.
Agreed. And you definitely have to have proof when you do anything. And personally, I think it's getting really out of hand.
It's just a lot easier to
accuse someone. Saying, Nikki, with all of these news agencies and these social media people that get on, these keyboard warriors that like to get on and spout all kinds of nonsense and slander out there and talking all kinds of nonsense they know nothing about and telling
and that goes back
who knows what about whatever, and it's all wrong.
And it goes back to what you said. Once it's out there,
you can't retrieve it.
Right.
You can't fix it. So your character is your most important thing. Your character before God, your personal character before God is the most important thing on this earth. The second most important thing is your reputation, which is a reflection, albeit one that can be sullied by someone else, of your character. It is a reflection of your character that someone else can tarnish. That is almost impossible to get back. So when it comes to saying neo-Nazis, when it comes to saying these people are fascists, then you do the most you incite people to do the most fascistic thing possible, and that is assassination. Okay, that is where we are, and we need to start. I'm not saying that there's no room for redemption for Elon Musk. That's not what I'm saying. But we do need to start to hold people to account and say, hey, glad you're apologetic. Glad you're back on this side. Welcome back. But we are going to watch you differently. We are going to treat you with a certain amount of caution.
You know, it's only for the conservatives that have that problem, because the liberals can do whatever they want. I mean, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and the accusations that have come before them, and the left will defend them
all the way to the end, even though they have done the most vile things.
I mean, I could get into a bazillion ideas about the left and say things, but here's just a small example of something like any of the shootings that go on with schools and churches. I mean, we know what side they lean on.
That's right.
Correct.
I mean, hello.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Same sort of thing.
So, looking forward to the future, what we should do, also what Thomas Paine was doing, cut number 8, Mr. Producer, as we have established an inheritance for posterity, let that inheritance descend with every mark of an honorable conveyance, the little it will cost compared to the worth of the states and the greatness of the object and the value of the national character will be profitable for exchange. Let's handle ourselves with dignity as we are uniting these states, these separate states, says Thomas Paine. Let us walk with care because we do have a posterity that we owe our children.
Amen.
This is something that I think, forgive me, present company accepted, the boomer generation did a very bad job of. Burning through the inheritance, the prosperity that their parents gave them in Generation X, the millennials. As much as you hate the millennials, okay, and the Zoomers, okay, we can have that conversation, but who raised them? Who also inherited a better country than what you're leaving behind with all the social. And I understand, my parents are boomers. They didn't vote for all this crap, but all of the crap, all the pork, all the dumb ideas that have been were put out by the boomer generation. So I'm not looking back to that. I'm saying looking forward, let's change our course and let's start to leave a posterity for future generations. Let's start to leave that. That includes how we speak. That also includes how we fight. We were having this conversation. Christians are too scared to fight.
Yes. And I'm actually in a process right now because, as I shared earlier, I'm not afraid to say what I think. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not good. So
I don't know, Nikki.
It can lead to things.
It can lead to a lot of stuff, but personally, I don't know.
Better to say it.
It is.
It's better to say
It
it's
is.
true. If
It
it's true,
really is.
say it in love. But it's true. I'm getting to the
It's
place.
true. I think it needs to be said because it's the truth. And it may hurt somebody's feelings. It may make somebody upset. But if it's true, it's true.
If it's true, it's true.
you know,
I mean,
actually, if
truth.
John Arthur's like a son to us, we've known him for 10 years plus.
Plus, from
And
what I...
we would not have a problem coming to you if we felt that something in your life was off, because out of love.
Correct.
My mother used to say that's constructive criticism. It means to help you, not to hurt you.
Right.
So compare that, Nikki, to words or violence. Compare that to words or violence. The idea of saying, if I love you, I will do the uncomfortable thing and confront you.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking about is the transgender thing when you're saying, please don't harm that child and give them surgeries before they're at an age where they can really make a decision. We don't want that kind of harm. And those are words of violence for a lot of people. And what you're saying is, what they're not showing you is the people who have,
Deconstructed?
well, from being a transgender. they're
Detransitioners.
That's it.
Yeah.
Detransition is what they're saying is, let's wait. If somebody's 21 years old and they want to go have a sex change, that's their business. That's not a child.
Correct.
That person
Right.
is an adult and can make the decision what they want, but a child cannot. And those words are considered, you're violent, you're scared of transition people, you're haters. That's not hate.
It's not hate to say, wait a minute, let's align your body or your mind with your body and not attempt to do radical surgery that will castrate you. And even moms who said, I don't want children, and then they get to their 30s, they go, ooh, I want children. That's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
A
That
large
is a
phenomenon.
major thing there,
And-
John Arthur.
It is.
A lot of people don't admit it anymore, but they hit their 40s and their 50s and they don't have children, and they made decisions that were outside of that, and they go back,
Right. Yes.
it happens. I'll speak to myself. I wish I'd had kids earlier. Okay. I'd like to have kids as soon as possible. God's timing. I've got my own things, my own situation.
Look, I'll explain one thing to you. My two boys, both of them, never had children until each one of them was about right at 31. So,
It's okay. God can provide.
hey, man,
So
There ain't nothing to sweat, buddy.
So real
Nothing
quick,
to sweat.
but before we continue going on, this is Mrs. Texas Freedom Road. The leftist boomers really messed it up because we just rocked along. We spent our lives working the farm, earning a living, making kids live better, only to have them want nothing to do with any of it. Absolutely agree. One of the worst things that we did as conservatives is we gave over education to the government because we don't think nefariously if we're Christians. We don't think that the enemy is out there to get us, but they are. Am I inciting violence? No. Am I inciting vigilance? Yes. You need to jealously, as God is jealous. God is jealous. If you read that word Elkanah, it means someone is the jealousy of a man with his children. If someone tries to harm his children, that man is jealous. He is jealous for their safety. His jealousy is, I will do everything I can to protect my children from harm. It is the jealousy of a relationship, the good sort of, honey, do you really want to put yourself in that situation where you're tempted? That's the jealous God of the Old Testament. He is jealous for your protection. We need to start being jealous of our own children's minds. We need to hold them closely. It's not a negative attribute. It is a neutral attribute. Jealousy, like violence, is a neutral thing. You can be violent and harm someone, or you can defend someone using violence. The violence that you use to defend someone is not immoral. It is morally neutral.
Yeah.
What you have done is interposed yourself heroically to defend someone if you have had to use violence to defend someone in your life. That's what we're talking about. You want to have that mentality. I like Sugar Magnolia 78. I speak my mind. Sometimes it makes people mad. People either love me or don't like me.
But they won't forget you.
But they won't forget you.
That's all that matters.
Here you go, John Arthur. One Brad A. Had my daughter on my 32nd, I wouldn't change anything.
Oh, praise God for that. So I think that is very, very beautiful. And then Miss Texas Freedom Road, be the guardian to the gate of your mind. I couldn't agree more. We also need to be the guardian to the gate for the character of our nation. Carrying on, Mr. Producer, how'd you like that segue? Just kind of
I like that.
slide
Very
it in.
good.
Number 9, please. But that which is more forcibly that which must more forcibly strike a thoughtful, penetrating mind, and which includes and renders easy all inferior concerns, is the union of the United States. On this, our great national character depends. It is this which must give us importance abroad and security at home. It is through this only that we are or can be nationally known in the world. It is the flag of the United States which renders our ships and commerce safe on the seas or in foreign port. Our Mediterranean passes must be obtained under the same style, and all our treaties, whether of alliance, peace, or commerce, are formed under the sovereignty of the United States, and Europe knows us by no other name in title. Why did I want to pull that out of chapter 13? We're living in a world, we might think that we are in a safe world, that we haven't had a world war in how many years. We might think that. I think a lot of people, that illusion is cracking. China is out there, guys, and they have aspirations. Russia is out there. They have aspirations for global domination. They all have their ideas. A fractured United States is exactly what they want.
I think Rocket Man would love to try to do that, but
Good-
I don't know if
Good
he's-
luck with him. His
The-
rocket
Able.
is too small.
I don't
and
know.
doesn't work. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else is concerned, but I'm a little concerned about what Russia's doing right now.
Yeah.
Russia's has invaded some of the NATO territory. They have gotten close to ours. That they're threatening. Those are threats. Those
And
are,
they-
they're pushing to see their limits. Is what they're doing.
And they hadn't cut down on Ukraine at all.
No, and I think it's very interesting that this is happening. And so Trump, if you remember this week, Trump said to Ukraine, you can have all your land back. Because I was of the opinion, have always been of the opinion, that they won't get all of it back. But if Trump is telling them, you can have all of it back now, he's done with Putin.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we see something good there, but we got to remember there was a reason why the North affiliated with the South and locked in, where you had the more generally conservative Christians, and you had the more liberal Christians in
Yeah.
the South with the issue of slavery. There was a time where we locked arms and we said, got to build some bridges because the enemy's at the gate. And the gate's over there. You're right here. Let's link arms. Let's go for it. And that's what Charlie Kirk was all about. And something that Thomas Paine is articulating here, on this, our great national character depends. He goes on to say, it's only because of our unity that we have safety abroad
Yes.
or at home.
Yes.
Okay, it is the flag of the United States which renders our ships and commerce safe on the seas or in foreign port. Our Mediterranean passes must be obtained under the same style. I don't know if you guys remember. You familiar with the Marines anthem? There's
No.
a line there, to the shores of Tripoli.
Okay. Yes, I remember that.
The reason why we had the term leatherneck was because of this extra leather padding around the neck, because they would go for the head.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go all the way across to northern Africa to kick some Muslim tail because they kept kidnapping, conscripting, or murdering, and then taking the merchandise from our merchant vessels. So
Was this in the what?
the 1700s, 1800s.
Which led to the 1812
No,
war?
no, no, no. War of 1812 was the British came back.
Okay, this
and
is
the
British.
Canadians
Okay,
betrayed
gotcha,
us.
gotcha.
Little.
I knew that
rascals.
was yes.
Little.
Rascals.
Yep.
So anyway, the fight out to Africa was specifically on that issue, and they said, "Look, we're going to be able to get our passes and be able to have safe travel because there's an American flag." Because people recognize that there's strength and there's sovereignty. We need to make sure that we understand that we can only unite under certain circumstances, but after a certain point, we do need to unite. And that's what Charlie Kirk was all about. Again, my only criticism that I've ever leveled at Charlie Kirk is I felt like he built too many bridges. Okay, that's the only bad thing I've ever said about Charlie Kirk, because he built bridges with people that I don't agree with, and that I think maybe shouldn't
did.
be under the conservative tent.
He did.
But I'll give it to him. The guy was the reason, like the main force behind the conservative win. The
You know,
popular
he
conservative
actually
win.
he did build a lot of bridges, and those people that he really did not see eye to eye and everything
Yeah.
really liked him.
He was more about building bridges and having conversations than tearing things down and just arguing with people. You know, when you saw him on any of his podcast or anything that he did, when he talked with anybody, he went to colleges or wherever, he was always just real reserved and talked. Every now and then when somebody got real cocky, he might say something that might upset him, but he was always
Well, he said
speaking the truth.
He was always speaking the truth.
He was doing it to build bridges, and
Right.
it's a good thing.
Exactly.
And you know, this is where I really did. I was reading this week, and I didn't see a nexus between Charlie Kirk and Thomas Paine's Crisis Number 13 until I got to this point.
Okay.
Right here, Mr. Producer. See if you see what I saw as I read. So far as my endeavors could go, they have all been directed to conciliate the affections, unite the interests, and draw and keep the mind of the country together. And the better to assist in this, the foundation of the revolution, I have avoided all places of profit or office, either in the state I live or in the United States, kept myself at a distance from all parties and party connections, and even disregarded all private and inferior concerns. And when we take into view the great work which we have gone through and feel, as we ought to feel, the just importance of it, we shall then see that the little wranglings and indecent contentions of personal parley are as dishonorable to our characters as they are injurious to our repose.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we've always had men who said, look, we need to build the coalition against evil. And we may not agree with all of these people. There might be an issue of this person believes in slavery. This person believes in this. We need to build the coalition, and we need to adjust and then redefine afterward. we're in a strange period of time. And someone responded back to me in the comment section. I believe it was Jupiter responded back to me in the live chat. To think that we've won the culture war is a mistake.
No.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying we won all of it. I'm saying we have the upper hand at the moment. Now is a great time to define the terms of what conservatism means. And I am so grateful for the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service because I believe it did. I believe it pushed. We need more of those moments, not of Charlie Kirk's death, but more moments where we see the Christian affectation, the Christian undercurrent, the Christian philosophy behind the conservative movement. Because the conservative movement is only conserving liberty under Christ. That's what it's always been about. That's what it's always been about. And we need to make sure that we maintain that intellectual consistency, that messaging throughout. If we don't, lost opportunity. And it's a failure. It's a failure as a nation, as a people. And of course, as Christians, I believe that it's a mistake to lose. So, Mr. Producer, next cut, number 11. Independence always appeared to me practical and probable, provided the sentiment of the country could be formed and held to the object. And there is no instance in the world where a people so extended and wedded to their former habits of thinking and under such a variety of circumstances were so instantly and effectually pervaded by a turn in politics, as in the case of independence, and who supported their opinion undiminished through such a succession of good and ill fortune till they crowned it with success. Never let a bad situation go to waste. Never let evil speak without bringing forth the value, virtue of truth, of justice. Because when people can see 4 years of Joe Biden and 4 years of Trump, and they can see the difference between the two, one set of ideas, this guy has a set of ideas, this guy's a set of ideas. Which one makes the most sense? Which one lends towards prosperity? And look, I'm not calling Trump a bastion of conservative thought. He is a fantastic leader, and he's done a fantastic job. But he's more populist than he is conservative. But because he's surrounded himself with conservatives, we have gotten the benefit from what a conservative, a true conservative, not a Bush conservative, but a true, or a Romney or a McCain conservative, but a true conservative. We got the benefit of a true conservative leadership. Don't let that go to waste, because there's something much, much more important underneath that. And that's the values of Christ. That's the liberty under Christ. Do not let that go to waste. If one set of ideas lends towards abundance, prosperity, safety, virtue in society, and the other doesn't, we can use the benefits of truth to guide them to the fullness of truth. That's where we should be. So this is his closing here. This is Thomas Paine's final words on what he intended to be the American crisis. But as the scenes of war are closed and every man preparing for home and happier times, I therefore take my leave of the subject. I have most sincerely followed it from the beginning to the end, and though all its turns and windings in whatever country I may hereafter be in, I shall always feel an honest pride at the part that I have taken and acted, and a gratitude to nature and providence for putting it in my power to be of some use to mankind. You know, we were talking about this off air, Miss Nikki. Some people could look at Charlie Kirk and they could envy the influence and the work that God did through him. Some people could envy Moses. They could envy Paul. There's a flaw in that.
Yes, there is.
Whose work is it really?
Well, it's God's work, but I think if Charlie Kirk were here alive, or Moses would tell you, there are going to be people who have influenced them in many different ways. And it may be more than one person that influenced them to become the man that God could use in this way. And so, as you know, that he has a lot of fruit for the glory of God. But all those mentors, I heard Frank Turk say that Charlie Kirk called him years ago and asked him to mentor him. And he did. And they were very good friends. And so Charlie Kirk doesn't stand alone. Okay? He's a man that God brought great mentors, and he was very sensitive to the Holy Spirit, I believe.
Correct.
I believe.
And so that's not in any way, shape, or form to diminish Charlie Kirk, but
Not
rather
at
to
all.
say the power and influence that he had was given to him by the Lord because the Spirit is working. We all have a place, a time, a people to
Yes.
speak to. And if you've ever romanced or thought about how cool it would be to be a missionary and you still live in America, your natives wear nose rings and dye their hair and they scream anti-Trump, anti-ICE slogans. Those are your natives. You are in a mission field and you should treat them with the same focused mercy and compassion without weakness that you should show the same natives we're talking about. You don't go to the Amazon with the idea of being killed.
No.
You know that it could happen. You don't share the gospel here in America not knowing that you could be killed for holding a political or a spiritual view. It's now happening more often than it should. It used to be unthinkable. It is happening now. Go forth with the boldness that you would have if you had set out to be on that mission. We need to begin with the end in mind.
Talking about missions, kind of funny. And I've told you guys before about this, and I'm sure y'all have heard it. But, I was on a deer lease, and I don't know how many people out here have heard it, but I was on a deer lease at a time, and I'd say probably 98% of the guys on there that showed up were always constantly drinking and pretty much drinking to excess. And there were a few guys that were on there that every time drank to excess. Well, never had for the 60 years that deer lease had been in existence, ran by the same family, I started praying over the food. Just decided to start praying over the food. And one of the gentlemen that had been on the deer lease ever since its inception was like, Steve, I'm so glad you're doing this. This has been needing to be done on this place for a long time, but nobody ever had the nerve to ever be able to do it. I am so glad that somebody has stepped up to do this. And after that, I'd have a few people that would ask me about Bible verses and explain them to them around the campfire. And then I'd have people that would ask me to pray for them while we were sitting around the campfire or in the area where we would eat. And it was so neat until the guy that ran the deer lease, he didn't care for that at all.
Kicked you off.
Man, you're not kidding. He kicked me right off that deer leash the next year. But you know something? I found out that there were two families, young families, that before then that I knew that were not Christians and did not go to church, that were my son's age, that ended up becoming Christians, and their whole families were going to church. And I started seeing on social media and Facebook that they were posting that they were now Christians and going to church on a consistent basis
See, that was
all the time.
That's the importance, the
That's where
impact.
you are.
Bam.
See, Charlie Kirk was a face,
Yes.
and he's a good man, and he did great. But the silent impact on his life are by people that you'll never know their name, you'll never know what they did. But he didn't stand up just by himself.
God used him, and God used other people to set him up. So make
That's
sure
right.
that you are one of those people,
Yes.
always speaking the truth.
And you know something? Those people, knowing that God saved them and brought him to them, and they are now saved and will be in heaven, that is such a blessing to know that God used me. It doesn't matter that I'm not on that leash no more. It was a great place to hunt, but
He's still sore about it. Don't. He's coping with it.
it's not that I'm sore. I don't care about that.
God provides strength and grace, though.
Exactly. He does.
God provides
And guess what? I'm hunting on a great place right now, and it's a lot smaller. And
provides.
it's super, man. God provides. He does, man. He is so wonderful.
That's
Praise
Steve's
the
main-
Lord.
Steve's main hobby, if you guys haven't figured that out, if you've been watching for a long time, you know that Steve loves to hunt.
We're
It
gonna.
was interpreted
You know,
dance.
I'm a big bow hunting fan, folks. I love to bow hunt. That's my big
So,
thing.
and look, it's a simple thing. I just mentioned God, and naturally, I'm not pushing anything. But I had one person one time said, "How is it that you talk so much about God?" I was teaching a class at a client's location, and the guy goes, "How can you get away with that?" And I said, "I'm not censoring myself, but I'm also not preaching. God is God.
Just sharing.
If I'm doing a first response training, I'm just talking about the wonderfully designed body that God gave you." And the guy goes, "How can you do that?" And I said, "They need Jesus more than my job. Why would I even avoid speaking about Christ?" So God can provide. He can always provide. So I got a couple prayer requests. We will definitely be praying for
Most
your son
definitely.
Brad. We will, absolutely. And Doug New Day will be praying for yours as
Do
well.
we have something to write on?
I've got it.
got it?
I've got it taken care of.
Okay.
So we'll absolutely be praying. So let's move in to what happens when you do destroy the image bearer status of man in the eyes of public. What happens when you do lie and your nation does have a character destruction in the way that we've watched in the past months and years? Well, you see stuff like this story. Mr. Producer, go ahead and pull up that cut, if you will. Be 13.
Meanwhile, FBI Director Kash Patel is releasing more information about the alleged shooter at a Dallas ICE facility. Patel posted on X saying that the shooter is 29 years old, lives in Texas, and he's a native there, Joshua John. In the post, Patel said he recently downloaded a document titled, quote, Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, which contained a list of DHS facilities. He also had searches for ballistics and the Charlie Kirk shot video and apps that tracked the presence of ICE agents. The shooter was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. 3 detainees at the facility were hit on Wednesday. One was killed and 2 others suffered serious injuries. No law enforcement were hurt.
So, pure confusion is a response. And this is something that should not happen. This is something that should be easy to understand, that we are to respect the law as a Christian. Romans 13, yes, I'm a conservative. Yes, I have leaned libertarian all my life. Romans 13, respect the law, because the king does not bear the sword in vain. You are supposed to respect the law. Now, it gives you what a just ruler is. And so we can have that conversation of, should we have rebelled against England? Yes. There's a reason for that, and we can debate it. But right now, ICE is anything but a fascistic
Right.
state. It is anything but the Gestapo, which is what the leftists call them, right? Over and over and over and over again. So the media is saying that the shooter is probably a MAGA, like the Krasensteins and all of the other dreck on X are coming out and saying, oh, look, it's another white MAGA shooter. Mr. Producer, if you can go ahead and put up cut number 14. Actually, he's biracial. while we're counting. Not that I care. The bullets say anti-ICE. And we're going to get back to that. Why did it say anti-ICE? Does that sound like a Fed plant? I've got a response for that. You could see that this fellow was at least on the Twinkie side. He may or may not have been a furry.
Is he
And
a
his
Maha
profile,
guy?
no, his profile picture is Glorious Exposition Comrade on one of his social media pages. Not what I would say your average Maha or MAGA man would look like.
Not at all.
But let's go a little bit further. Let's look at his family, which is not necessarily indicative, but it's helpful. Go ahead, Mr. Producer. This is his mother, Sharon John. Governor Abbott, Senator Cornyn, and Ted Cruz, how does it make you feel that your actions to open up gun laws is responsible for the killing of 21 more people? Do you secretly sit in front of the TV and smile a demented smile? You must be proud of all the money that sits in your bank accounts from the gun lobby support. Was it worth it, Governor Abbott? How about you, senators? Okay. Don't care for that. She follows Call to Activism, The Resistance, the U.S. Democratic Socialists. To the right hand of the screen, we see Ki Jean, his sister, in what looks like it could just be a fruity Halloween costume. Don't know yet.
Haired furry.
People are saying she's a furry. I don't know that. Maybe. That looks like a lesbian she's with there, or a twink in her file there. And then, of course, there are 6 arrests. So, does the family a shooter make? No. But we're finding out more. I'm just saying this is the environment that this young man was raised in. He also, we want to look at his internet history. Mr. Producer, if you could put number 16 up. He voted Democrat. He downloaded ICE Block, an anti-ICE benefit. There's your writing on the bullet, Anti-ICE by Hassan Piker, Taylor Lorenz, and David Ferrier. Look, I'm not saying that these people are responsible for the death, the people at the Anti-ICE. Thank you, Mr. Producer, please. I'm not saying that they're responsible for that per se, but when you call to violence over and over and over again, I don't know if you've listened to any Hassan Piker.
No.
But the fellow is absolutely a rabid dog. Like he is absolutely all on board with calling ICE agents fascists and Gestapo. He's an absolutely terrible person.
This is what confuses me so much. It should not confuse me because it's just deception, unbelievable deception.
Are you confused?
Well, I'm confused when the left are standing up and saying the rhetoric from the right, and I'm like, what?
Since when do we talk
What?
about killing people in the streets? When do we talk about fascists and Gestapo?
And they say it with a straight
Don't.
face. And it's like, we just had the lady who was running for governor, and I can't remember what state it's in, and she goes, let this fuel your rage, right after the Charlie Kirk thing. It's like, well, that's really smart for you to say that to the Democrat left-leaning side there, the radicals. Let this fuel your rage. And then you talked about that guy there. How can you make these accusations when all these people on your side are saying such vile,
Horrible things.
and you are trying to blame President Trump? President Trump has a lot of rhetoric, but it's not violent rhetoric.
Yeah.
How many politicians have we heard that have spoke things like, let's do X, like go out and do
Oh yeah, remember
this, or go out and do that, or go out and this. We need to raise hell. We need to create mass confusion. We need, and people like Pelosi or any of these
Yeah, I know.
Islam 5 or whatever that,
Yeah.
Ilmar
You
came
know
out
what I
with
mean?
She was very
they're
violent.
constantly talking
So it's gaslighting.
crazy rhetoric.
It is gaslighting.
It's Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. Always accuse them of what you are doing, and
That's true.
therefore they will. When they say no, you're doing it. It's now devolved into a he said, she said, and that's what they've done, and that's what they've consistently done for generations at this point.
It's just dumb.
It is just dumb, but
you, sir.
it's actually kind of
Perfect.
smart. And now Ice Block, that one app that I had on cut number 16, Ice Block, go ahead and throw it up there, Mr. Producer, is an app that allows people to track ICE's locations. Thank you, Mr. Producer. It's on
I
the
don't know.
App
Why is
Store.
that legal?
It should be removed.
Why is that legal?
I think that it's technically legal, but in a sense, it's almost doxing. There need to be regulations put up where you cannot track. This is new legal territory. It's been very, very unusual for there to be an open market cop block type.
Well, if anything happens to an ICE agent, then they should be held accountable.
Yeah, it absolutely needs to be fully,
And let me-
fully.
And I don't know if you
Wait,
heard this
wait.
last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago? There was a guy that was tracking Taylor Swift. Every time her plane, he was tracking it and posting it. And I'm totally against that too. I mean, Taylor Swift's on the opposite side of the political field than I'm on, but that's wrong.
Sure it is.
It's putting her in danger, and you don't
Yes.
have the right to do that. Even
it's
I
all-
don't care that she has a different political
Yeah,
idea.
doesn't matter.
That I do. It's wrong that's putting her in harm's way.
It's all open source data. So now you kind of have to come down to the question of what is and isn't permissible. There has to be a call to action. With Ice Block, there is a call to action. I'd have to look at the Taylor Swift air tracking. I've heard of that. I'm not sure what to make of it, but need more data. But if there's a call to violence and a call to action,
I know, but
then
it's
by
just-
definition, it's wrong.
What about the call on Newsom about
The fake.
agents removing their mask?
Well, it's going to make it easier. It's going to make it easier for this to happen. Mr. Producer, go ahead and put this out, and then I want your commentary, Steve. If you can go ahead and
Okay.
put out number 17. We can commentate over it in just a moment. But this is the security camera in the facility where you see detainees being protected by ICE agents. So on one side, you have a shooter trying to kill ICE agents, effectively kills 2, almost 3 of these detainees. And the ICE agents don't just leave the detainees, they risk their lives to protect the detainees. By the way, the ICE agents are the ones that the shooter is trying to shoot. Just go over that in your mind for a moment. The paradox. I would laugh, except there are people who are dead. And the attempt was on the life of these ICE agents, who were just removing detainees from the van. I would laugh, but there are dead people, and the people who were being targeted were innocent. And I'd say I would laugh because the irony here is thick. This shooter killed 2 detainees that he was supposedly protesting for. Remember, we said, what does your worldview produce? Does it produce harmony, peace, growth of society? Does it tend towards the building of society, or does it destroy? Maybe rethink your worldview. If your worldview is leading young men to blow their brains out after having accidentally killed 2, injured another, detainees that supposedly he was protesting while trying to murder officers of the law who were just trying to go home to their family and trying to remove people who had illegally invaded this country. If your worldview is producing this confusion, you should start by saying, sorry, this is not what we're about. Sorry, maybe we should rethink this. Instead, the left continues to double down. Starting to think it's not an accident. Starting to think that there are people who want this. Used to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't think so anymore. I think some of these anchors really actually deep down like this. I think some of the people on the news channels, I think some of them like it. I'm not calling for violence. I'm calling for accountability. People who say this crap need to be fired. Or if they're on FCC airwaves,
You need to say stuff that's true.
you can't commit fraud over and over
Yes,
and
I would
over and
agree.
over again.
Right.
You can make mistakes, but when they all stack up on the left's side, it's no longer mistakes.
Right.
It's
Before,
consistently fraud.
before I
is
got
what
into
it is.
media, I was an industrial engineer. Okay. if a system produces the same outcome more than 50% of the time, if it does it 99% of the time, you would say the system is designed to create that outcome. If the outcome is undesirable, redesign the system. It's a failure in design, or it is by design.
And I will say that there's been a lot of lawsuits, and they have lost. CNN and I should not name the news channels because I don't know for sure, but I don't. There's been a lot of lawsuits to these news organizations, and they're losing. And I think one of the big things, as you've seen a lot of people on the left lose their position, is because it's too much of a risk. Anything that costs you financially.
It needs to start to cost financially.
Yes.
Look, we want to
Yes.
be really careful what we're saying here. We are not the party of violence. We are a deep down. The Conservative Party is based on the Christian ethic and moral.
Yep.
And our desire is to see all these people won over to our side. That is the desire, no matter how heinous, no matter how vile they are, we want them to come to our side. The other side would be very, very happy if we all died tomorrow. If we were all thrown through a giant wood chipper, they'd be very happy, most of them. Okay, that is the difference between the two sides. When you are ideologically radicalized on the right, and the right is not the neo-Nazis, the far right, that is the alternative right, because you had to have an alternative left and an alternative right when talking about Europe pre-World War II. That's where the alt-left, alt-right came from. Either they were left of center Nazis, or they were far left of center communists in the American lexicon of left and right. And of course, we brought over a whole bunch of Nazis during Operation Paperclip and brought them into our schools, and now they're part of our teaching staff. And they're, all the people, the freaks from Germany, the worst of them, were allowed to come in, and that thought permeated. So they started using alt-right. That term has nothing to do with the far right. The far right live in Pennsylvania and they drive buggies, okay? And they refuse to drive cars. We call them the Amish or the Mennonites. That is the extreme conservative lifestyle, to a fault conservative lifestyle. That is the extreme. And if that is the extreme that we're going to, I would rather have that than what we're seeing today.
Because we like the Amish.
The truth
I like the Amish.
will set you free.
Amen.
So,
Just got to know what the truth is.
Kinsey Wren drops
Exactly.
this. What do you think of Pam Bondi calling for hate speech laws? Look, I'm going to try to act with charity towards Pam Bondi,
Blondie.
but what I'm going to say is this. I don't think she's ever held a true conservative thought line in her head.
Amen.
I believe she is an establishment Republican, and I believe she has no idea. Someone close to her should say, hey, Pam, we don't do hate speech. These were calls, incitements to violence. This is not cool. This is
Well,
not
we
cool.
have, and we do have a lot. You can't just get online and threaten somebody's life.
Yeah.
I mean,
And what I'm saying
that's
is you
against the
see
law.
too many
That's against the law.
politicians doing it.
The politicians are calling for violence. The news agencies are. So here's the full extent of this. So Kinsey Wren lives in Canada. Here's the idea, the crux of the American system. You can only have the liberty as long as you use your remedy. We have a legal remedy against calls to violence. There are civil and criminal lawsuits that need to start happening in America.
and they are, and that's why some of these people are losing their jobs. All right. So this week, Keith Oberlin made a tweet
Oberman? Yeah.
about Scott Jennings.
What a clown.
And Scott Jennings referred it to the FBI. That's the way you do that. And
And
we'll
then the
see.
FBI has to do its job,
And the FBI has to do
which
its
it
job.
hasn't for years.
Don't expect
And
that.
it was, and
No, I
Scott
do. I
Jennings
demand it.
saw it as a threat to him personally. And that is the kind of thing that we need. I don't believe in censoring speech, but
Some speech has something else with it. So it's like pornography. Okay. If I am doing an audiobook where I am salaciously speaking about two people getting into a relationship, and I'm writing like an audio novel that's a smut thing, I have used my freedom of speech to commit a indecency crime. Does that make sense? I have used my speech. I had the freedom to say, but when I do something vile with it, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be allowed to make smutty novels.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be allowed to write those. You shouldn't be able to put those in. You can't say fire in a crowded theater. Yeah, that's not free speech. That's everyone get out of
Right.
here because there's something happening. And it's not true. You lied and you incited with the intention to cause harm.
Yes.
True, and that's where that comes from, with the intention to harm.
So Pam Bondi doesn't understand that because she doesn't have a formed worldview.
I agree.
I don't hate the woman. I don't. But I do think she has no business being in that place. God bless Trump. I love Mr. President. Don't always love all of his picks. Pam Bondi probably
Is not a
one
good
of the
pick.
worst picks of this
agree.
administration. And yet she's still so much better than the medium to worst picks of the last one for Trump. So good job on that. I hope that she does good. Pray for Pam Bondi. Pray for Pam Bondi that she gets her head screwed on all the way, because I think she might have good intentions. She at least intends to be a politician, bureaucrat for the rest of her life. I hope she does a good job. So I want her success. I don't think she was a good
What's
pick.
that saying about good intentions?
Yeah, the road to hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is paved therewith. Yes, that is true.
Yeah,
true.
road to hell is paved with good intentions.
So I want to go back real quick because, again, the Krasensteins and all these other terrible people on X want to come out and say, oh, look, it's another white guy. A, he's biracial. But B, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. But he looked like a furry. He kind of looks like he's a bit of a twink. There are videos I didn't include of him simulating peeing into another man's mouth with a water balloon. I'm just, I don't know.
No, that's just wrong.
I agree,
real
Mr.
wrong.
Producer.
I didn't need that picture in my head.
So yeah, well, I saw it. I didn't put it out. I didn't put it out there. I'm just saying this is stuff that's being passed around via X, via all the internet sleuths. Thank you guys for doing your hard work. But what I will say is, let's pull up some statistics on this. It's not per capita white men. It's a number of other people. Mr. Producer, go ahead and pull up cut number 18 for me, please. This is, again, from John Lott. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I'll bring it out again. Percentage of mass public shootings by trans individuals from 2018 to 2023, that's 5.4% were trans. That says that you are 7.3% more likely to be a mass shooter if you are trans. So let's whoa up for a second. Thank you, Mr. Producer. You are 40% more likely to off yourself. You are 7% more likely, 700% more likely to be a mass shooter than the average population. You are significantly, I don't know what it is, but your life expectancy is cut, I believe, to 45 or 48. I don't know if those numbers have been adjusted since improvements in AIDS treatments have come along. I'm not sure. It's an old stat, but it was 45 to 48 was the life expectancy. Due to all the other issues, you're expected to spend between $1.5 and $2 million until the end of your life on cross-sex hormones and surgeries and follow-ups. Why are we encouraging this
I
decision? Decision, not the decision of the heart to want something that's not good for it, but everything else outside of that is a decision. Why are we making that decision? Why are we pushing people towards that? Why are we glorifying it and deifying it? I don't think it's good. So again, on the issue of mass shootings, just so that you guys have your stats like ready in your head, go ahead, Mr. Producer. This is going to cut number 19. Type of guns used in mass shootings, 51.9% were pistols. Okay. ARs are the vast minority of these. Next cut, Mr. Producer. Racial demographics, just before we say it's white, we have a 64% white population. 58% of mass shooters are white. Okay. Black are 14% of the population, 12% of the population, 14% of the shooters. Asian, 7.4% of the mass shooter population, only 4.8% of the actual population. Middle Eastern, 7.4% of the mass shooters are Middle Eastern, 0.4% of the population they make up. So that should be a red flag. Islamicist, radical Sharia supremacists, Hispanics. Half. Okay, so we'll get the Hispanics a pass. They tend not to be mass shooters. American Indians, 3.7%. Okay, and they only comprise 1% of the population. Christians, although 73% of Americans claim to be Christians, 16% of mass shooters are self-avowed Christians. Muslims, 0.8% of the population, they commit 9.6% of the mass shootings. Okay, Jewish, 2.1% of the population, they only commit 0.6% of the mass shootings. Jews and Hispanics tend not to kill people. Okay, let's take that away. Christians also disproportionately do not. Other non-Christian religions, 10% of mass shooters are other non-Christian religions, only comprising 2.9% of the population. 62.7% are not affiliated. It is not Christianity. It is not whites who are doing these shootings. It is godlessness.
It's true.
It is godlessness, and it is Sharia supremacy. Those two things are the vast indicators. Godlessness and Sharia supremacy are the things that are causing this. Okay, so it is not typically white people. It's not always a white man. Majority of Americans are white. That is to be expected. But you pull out the per capita stats, and all of a sudden it changes. Most of them are all these Christian white nationalists. Sorry, Christians disproportionately, and you actually look at them, most of those people are your creasters. They're remotely related, but they go on Christmas and Easter, and they don't do anything more because they are culturally Christian on some level. But you see the vast majority are completely unaffiliated. They have no relationship to Christ or God. So again, do not believe that it's mostly white. Political affiliation. Let's go ahead and pull that one out. That's going to be cut number 22, Mr. Producer. No mention of public affiliation is the blue chart there. If you're watching this online, if you're listening, just trust me, 71% are politically unaffiliated. It is people who do not believe in anything that are more likely to commit these acts of violence. Thank you, Mr. Producer. It is people who do not believe in anything. They do not believe in the value of human life. They don't have a higher purpose, a higher calling to God. That is who we're worried about. And we are consistently building these people in these factories we call public schools. If you're a public school teacher, my heart goes out to you. I respect you. I have a lot of friends who are public school teachers. You are doing God's work. I'm not coming after you.
Right.
In all likelihood, if you're listening to this program, you're probably doing God's work. Good on you. With that said, the system itself and the amount of crazy leftists who are allowed unmonitored with children, that is where we have mass shooters coming out of. That's where we have these crazy people who are interested in harming others for political beliefs or ideological beliefs. That is the issue. So anyway, any thoughts wrapping up this segment? Nikki or Steve?
No, I think we did pretty good there. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
So we promised you some levity. Let's do something fun. This is going to be Nikki Knows Facts.
All right.
It's going to be number, 24.
Well, what we're going to do today is I'm not using anybody's names. So if you want to look up to check these out, you just get online and look for funny insurance claims. But we're just going to have fun today. So go ahead and give me number 1 there. The pan on fire. So the story goes, a man's in his kitchen, he's cooking, and the pan catches on fire. So what does the man do? He grabs the pan, runs past the kitchen sink that has water, out to the front door, and throws it in the back of his convertible.
Oh my gosh.
And then when he does that, he turns around, he sees the other pan on fire, so he runs back, passes the kitchen sink, which has water, grabs the pan and throws it in the trash can. Needless to say, he filed a claim for his car and his house. And I do believe it was denied.
It should be denied.
It was a little sketchy. That's what they said. It was a little sketchy.
So
Yes.
if you're in that situation, what you do is you fill you take your towel, your wash towels, and you fill them with water. You get them nice and water, and then you lay them over the pan fire, and it smothers it out.
Don't throw it in your convertible.
Don't throw it in your convertible.
That's right.
Or
And
in your trash
do
can.
not throw it in the trash can.
You know what also works for a fire like that?
Yeah.
Flour.
Yeah, I heard that.
Flour
Yeah,
will
we
do.
were raised that way.
Sand,
All right.
flour will.
Flour works.
On to the next one. Seasick. My husband said this is really gross.
Go ahead.
So a man takes a trip on a cruise line, right? He's on there and he's seasick. And these are things that people file claims for. And what does he do? He starts vomiting over the side of the ship and he loses his teeth. And he filed a claim for that. And I believe he probably got that one. Probably did.
He vomited out his dentures.
Actually, my father did that in the ocean. He was in the ocean, he got hit by a wave and his teeth fell out. Yeah, he did. All right, let's move on to the next one. The Hail and the Hammer. Were you interested in this one?
I wanted to know. I want to know. I put these together for her. I have no idea what they are.
So
Oh, wow.
a gentleman reports a claim that his car is damaged by hail. So the insurance adjuster comes out and he's examining the dents, but they look like perfectly round dents,
They're too round.
like the picture of that hammer at the end there. Mm-hmm. So his claim is denied. So the man, not being discouraged, files another claim and says, someone damaged my car with a hammer. And they couldn't, they didn't have any proof that he did it. So they had to pay his claim.
That's terrible.
Please don't. Hey,
you advocating-
I am not encouraging you to go bang on your car, okay? This
Fake
now-
news.
All right, next slide, please. What do we got? Rain and a dead battery. So one day, a woman decides to drive her car. It's a beautiful day, puts all the windows down, and then all of a sudden, her battery dies. And then soon after there's a rainstorm, and her car is flooded. So she files a claim. And the insurance adjuster comes out, and he's noticing something. Usually cars that get filled with water have a smell to them. Now, her carpets were wet, but he just noticed there were some things that were off. So he decided to check the weather. And the day that she claimed this happened, there wasn't a heavy rainfall. It was just a light sprinkle. So her claim was denied. So if you're going to damage your car, you got to think of these things.
You got to think ahead a little bit. If
Gotta
you're going
think.
to, you got to be sneaky if you're going to do it.
You got to make sure it was on a day that you had a heavy rain and a flood.
So the official story here is if you're going to commit insurance fraud, don't. But if you do, don't be stupid.
Yeah, and all these things, the insurance companies, they kind of get smart when they start seeing these things. How
They
can-
have to. They
Yeah.
have to.
All right, the next one. Oh, this is my favorite.
The cigar club.
The Cigar Club. So this gentleman buys 24 cigars, expensive cigars, and he insures them for $15,000. And then he smokes each one of them. And then he files a claim and says that his cigars burned up in a fire. Well, the insurance company thought, okay, it's cheaper to pay him the $15,000 than to fight this. So they pay him. But then they turn around and they charge him with 24 counts of felony arson because you can't set insured property on fire.
Nice.
Now, I have to tell you, where I got this
So
one,
it's so smart.
where I got this one, the insurance adjuster said, this is told in the insurance world all the time, this story. He said, but I could not find anything to back it up. But it's a fun story, so we're going to tell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, on to the next one.
Hilarious.
Vacation bust. This woman goes out and she buys herself a set of skis and she's going to go skiing. The problem is when she gets there, there's no snow, but she has travel insurance. So she files a claim. I don't get it, but I think I would call ahead. Is there snow on the slopes? It's July. All right, go to the next one.
Did she get denied?
I don't know about that one. I don't know if she got denied. I can't
hope she
remember.
did.
I guess it depends on the month. Huh?
Yes. What's next we got? Now, this one's fun. Bowling at home. This lady had hardwood floors, and they had a family event and decided to do some bowling in-house, and the floors got damaged. And she filed a claim that the floors weren't hard enough.
Huh?
She was denied.
Yeah.
Now, all right,
Listen here, lady.
My husband's not here, but if my grandchildren were over and I had hardwood floors, I may allow them to do something like that. Maybe. Because I'm
He would.
pretty.
He
I
would-
don't know if Charlie would.
Charlie would.
Charlie would not, but
Charlie.
I'm
Nope.
I'm the
Nope.
easy grandparent. I'm the one who says yes more than no. But anyway,
How did you like our Charlie impression there, Mr. Producer?
yeah,
I could see
did it better?
Charlie.
Nope.
no.
Accurate.
Accurate. Next one, Mr. Producer.
Yeah, I could see Charlie.
Oh, the midnight visitor. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
The midnight visitor. Here we go. I had to make this one a special one. One night, a homeowner needed a bathroom break. Lifted the toilet lid and found a rattlesnake.
Mm-hmm.
He had to make a call to his insurance company. He knew removing the snake would cost some money. The insurance adjusters started an investigation, and under the house and around the plumbing was found a snake congregation.
I love how you rhyme that.
A congregation.
The snakes were removed and all is fine. The homeowner was so grateful they were found in time. Otherwise, he would have a very sore behind.
Poetry, cinema. I love it. See,
so then-
this was my greatest fear.
Thank you, Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Nikki Seuss. This was my greatest fear. So my mom was a missionary's kid in Uruguay, and she grew up in a little town called Salto. And so she told me a story about someone, they had they didn't have the kind of plumbing that we had here. It was no plumbing, but she didn't elucidate that when I was 4. She talked about someone getting bit in the panduce while taking a dump. And so until I was about 13, I was telling you before we got on, I always looked in the sink, looking very, very closely, trying to see if there was a snake curled up underneath there.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame you at all.
You know,
I love the rhyme.
I remember when I was a kid, we had a deer lease. It was out in Lamb Passes, and there was a outhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And anytime you went out to the outhouse, it didn't matter if it was during the day or if it was night, you always had to take a stick with you, a long one, because you always had, when you opened the door, you had to watch out
For the snakes.
for rattlesnakes.
Absolutely.
Because
Watch 'em.
there was always a way for snakes
To get in.
come
Get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always. They could get in.
And for
And it
reasons
was
we won't
around your feet and stuff where they would be, not so much as in
The toilet
the toilet area,
Yeah.
but down around where your feet would be. And that's where you
And you
had
wouldn't
to
see
watch
them.
it.
You wouldn't see 'em.
Exactly.
You wouldn't see
Yep.
them. All right, the last one. Let's rethink something. If you're going to make a false claim, let's rethink it, because there are legal, financial, and personal repercussions for making an insurance claim that is not true. So please be careful.
Don't do that. That's bad.
Don't do that.
No, that's bad. Thank you. This has been Nikki.
Is that against the law?
Yes.
Oompa
I-
choopa.
Okay.
So, Mr. Producer, we have 30 minutes left. You wanna do the song review? Let's do it.
If we have time, if
We
that's
do.
good with you.
We do.
All right.
We got 20 minutes, 25 minutes for the thing, and then we got 5-10 minutes for this. We're gonna overlap somewhere, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, so just give me 1 second here.
We're gonna
Sorry.
work on your introduction. You could pull up the song review while you're switching there.
We need to get him a neat introduction.
Keep going, bro. Don't slow down.
Oh, there.
Ask and ye shall receive, Steve. So, Mr. Producer, this is the time at which you do your switch. So transition, start talking. You got this.
Okay, hi everyone. So today's song is Simple by Jordan Felice. Now, has anyone else here heard of him? Anyone on the...
No,
I haven't heard that song.
no idea. I don't know who Jordan Felice is, so you're gonna have to enlighten us. Come on, bud.
You
So
don't even know
Jordan
Jordan?
Felice is a I would say decently popular Christian pop artist. I think he usually has some pretty good stuff. And I was listening to this song this week. It just came up in my playlist, and I thought it was interesting. So I thought that should be the song review for this week. So let's start looking at it here. Okay, verse 1. Could it be that simple that you love me and that's it, and we only need a little bit of faith that's heaven sent? So I open up my mouth and show your kids what you're about and keep it simple.
What? Okay.
Okay.
Let's hear the rest.
Okay, chorus. Don't want to mix up your words with mine. Want to live to reflect your light. Give me you, give me truth, and the rest will fall in line. Don't want my pride to get in the way of the love that you give away. Give me you, give me truth, that the cross can save us all. It's really that simple.
So it sounds, Ryan, that he's basing this on the verse in the Bible where, was it Paul that said that, salvation is, and I'm sorry I can't give you the reference, but it refers to the salvation message is simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is simple.
It is.
Yes.
So
That's one reason I thought this was an interesting song, because I think sometimes we can make it a bit difficult when it comes to salvation and the message of the cross, making it a bit more complicated than it is
Yes.
sometimes.
So what do you think people get caught up in?
Well, I just think we sometimes can make things salvation issues that are not salvation issues.
Oh, that's a good point.
yeah. Yeah.
Making some disputable matters salvation issues, So I just thought this was a really interesting song about how it's really a simple thing to be saved.
It is simple.
So,
It is
well, at
simple.
least simple to understand.
The working through of sanctification is the difficult
That's
process.
it. That's
and I think
it right
sometimes
there.
we get as Christians kind of caught up in the simplicity of salvation, and then we leave out the sanctification, which is very simple too, but it's just hard.
It's a journey, and I think people don't understand that,
So
especially
salvation's
in our
easy.
in our day and time. People don't understand that when you grow in anything, there's a journey to it. If you're going to learn a craft or a trade, there's a journey.
Yep.
If somebody's going to come to my house and work on my air conditioner, I don't want it a person who's a week out of school.
Yep.
Now, if he's with a mentor, that's one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or somebody who hasn't been to school. I want somebody experienced.
Yes. Yes.
And I love that line where it says, "Don't want to mix up your words with mine." Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, sometimes we can kind of add things to salvation. Sometimes I think that we think are really important, but it's really not part of the salvation issue. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of times I heard a lot of people on this panel teach a Sunday school class, and a lot of the time we pray, we don't like, "Lord, please speak your words through me." Like, I don't want to add my own words in there, something that doesn't need to be said, and make people confused. So continuing on here, in verse 2, could it be that easy that your love for me is perfect? It seems so crazy that in my dirt you call me worth it. So I'll give my all to you. You're the choice I'll always choose. For me, it's that simple. Now, I have a bit of a problem with one line there. You're the choice I'll always choose.
Yeah.
Now, I think he means generally, like, of course, we're going to sin and fall sometimes, but I think generally, like, choosing to follow Jesus is what he's getting at there. So it's not too big of an issue, but anyone else have anything on that verse there?
I really like
Mr. Steve?
the one verse that says that in my dirt you call me worth it.
Amen.
It doesn't matter how dirty you are or your past is to God, you're still worth it. It doesn't matter. Just like the thief that hung on the cross next to Jesus, he was worth it too. And he went to heaven with Jesus.
It's a good thing.
It was very
Doesn't
simple.
yeah.
It was very simple. I guess.
Yes, it was.
Ryan, I guess my concern always today is the easy believism. Now, believing is easy and simple, but easy believism is also
believism.
believism.
Easy Belizeism. We're immigrating to Belize. Sorry.
Yes.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yes, that's the message of this song.
That's the message of
exactly.
the song.
Is repentance is required.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and I see a lot of things today that doesn't require repentance, and I don't know if the individual is getting a true message.
Yeah,
That's
'cause
true. That's true. I
the
think it's
I'm
important.
sorry
when
is only half of it. It's I'm sorry. Yes, I
Yes.
will change.
Yes, I think it's important when discussing salvation to someone and explaining it to them. It's important to emphasize repentance because that's
Correct.
not talked about a lot today. But let's finish the song here with the bridge. Let me see. Leave it up to me to make it harder than it should be. There's no smoke and mirrors with you. Leave it up to me to make it far too hard to see that it's so simple with you. Anything on that? I think it's a pretty good bridge.
I think the bridge is fine. The first verse is a little bit hard to understand, but after reading it, I think I
Yeah, I
understand it.
think
It's
as
a
you
fine
get
song.
into it, you start to understand it more, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is solid."
I see what he's doing.
Here.
I see what he's doing. It's fine. It's a good song.
Yeah, and
Nice
it's
poppy.
it's got a nice poppy sound to it.
Hey, it's
if
better
you're looking
than-
for a good Christian pop, I would say Jordan Flea's a pretty decent artist. I haven't heard some of his more recent stuff, so I don't know if he's kind of gone off the rails like some artists have. But
It's better than Selena Carpenter or
Selena
or
Carpenter.
Sabrina Gomez. Oh wait, sorry. I get them all mixed up. They're all the same person and all produced by the same industry.
How's the
Plants.
tunes with it?
The tunes,
Yeah, the tunes with this song
It's poppy.
it's pretty good.
sound pretty good.
Pop.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
You should.
We tried playing them on here. YouTube got mad at us, and
Yeah.
PSB's live
Yeah.
audio kept ducking. So we went ahead and just didn't do that
Oh,
anymore.
that stinks, man.
But
Yeah.
that's been song review. Unless you got anything else, Ryan?
Nope. Just the one song today.
Thanks, Cap.
I think I've had to
stuff.
cut the segment down to one song just because of time.
Yeah,
But that's
I'm-
okay.
I'm with
That's
you.
okay.
We'll have to do some with a good and a bad.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
So-
Captain. That was great.
The book corner.
My
Rounding
pleasure,
out the
Mr.
day.
Steve.
Go ahead and pull me cup number 40, please, Mr. Producer. Cut number 40. So we're getting back into the Screw Tape Letters. This is going to be chapter 10 of the Screw Tape Letters. Go ahead and bring me the next cut, Mr. Producer. For those who are just joining us, the Screw Tape Letters are a series of correspondence between two demons, Screwtape the Elder Mentor and his apprentice Wormwood. In these correspondence, Screwtape encourages Wormwood in how to tempt Wormwood's human patient, a young man in World War II era Britain. In this thread of conversation, Lewis explores the base temptations of man and how Satan as tempters may indeed think about us and our own existence. Next cut, Mr. Producer. Chapter number 10 is on the worldly acquaintances and how to use them. In chapter 10, we see Screwtape, the senior demon, explain to his nephew that humans are not static beings and that you can, actually, I think this is from last week. Go ahead and pull that cut for a moment, Mr. Producer. You can actually adjust and move your patient as a demon towards a different worldview based on whom they are surrounded by. And let's go ahead and get into it. Steve and Nikki, go ahead and stop me at any point if you want to make a point or a comment. Chapter 10. My dear Wormwood, I was delighted to hear from Triptweez that your patient has made some very desirable new acquaintances and that you seem to have used this event in a really promising manner. I gather that the middle-aged married couple who called at his office are just the sort of people we want him to know. Rich, smart, superficially intellectual, and brightly skeptical about everything in the world. I gather they are even vaguely pacifist, not on moral grounds, but from an ingrained habit of belittling anything that concerns the great mass of their fellow men, and from a dash of purely fashionable and literary communism. This is excellent. I do love C.S. Lewis's just sarcastic sense of humor in this.
Yeah.
But it's true though that folks who do tend to, this is very much our liberal friends. This is our liberal friends that we meet every day. And these people can have an effect on you. To wit, Mr. Producer, cut number 45. And you seem to have made good use of his social, sexual, and intellectual vanity. Tell me more. Did he commit himself deeply? I don't mean in words. There is a subtle play of looks and tones and laughs by which a mortal can imply that he is of the same party as those to whom he is speaking. That is the kind of betrayal you should specially encourage, because the man does not fully realize it himself, and by the time he does, you will have made withdrawal difficult. No doubt, he must very soon realize that his own faith is in direct opposition to the assumptions on which all the conversation of his new friends is based. I don't think that matters much, provided you can persuade him to postpone any open acknowledgement of the fact, and this, with the aid of shame, pride, modesty, and vanity, will be easy to do. As long as the postponement lasts, he will be in a false position.
So well stated on things that go on right now. It is so easy to say this and then look around and go, hey, wow, I know some people just like that act that very way.
Yeah, I was thinking about the couple there, that there's so many people like that today. And, it makes me wonder is who grooms them? In that day and time that C.S. Lewis wrote this, how were they groomed?
Through very similar communist, socialist ideas. And before that, it was Satanists. Before that, it was some pagans. It's always the group who is intellectually superior, high-minded. They have this great new knowledge that you've always missed. In the early days of the church, I love you guys. In the early days of the church, Gnosticism that creeped in
Yeah.
to the second and third century church. All these high-minded ideas that had been around. The Jews had played with Gnosticism for a long, long, long time. And that's why there's two different canons of Scripture. There's the Catholic Orthodox. Orthodox has one or two more books. Love you guys. Not complaining, not looking for beef. But the complaint from the Protestants are this: the well-rounded, the ones who are actually reading and paying attention. Yeah, those books of the canon were always considered Gnostic heresy by the Jews and by the early church. Is why Jesus didn't reference those. But you kind of have this creeping in of the idea, because we know we're so much smarter. We have this.
You can hear that in the Hollywood elite that come out and talk like they have the answers, and it's like you live in a bubble. You have no idea, the common man, and
You have no clue.
Not connected.
You're just,
talking about.
you're in a bubble, and they come
This
out like they know.
pseudo-intellectualism.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
that was like this one guy. What was he? The guy that was running the ATF or NFA or whatever under Biden, and he was supposedly showing a Glock, and he didn't know how to take the slide off.
Slide off.
And I'm like watching this guy, and I'm like,
You got to be kidding
"Are
me.
you serious? Here's a guy that's done, and he doesn't even know how." And then he just sets it down.
So I want to pull back to this right here, because we are short on time, but I do want to pull in. It's not so much a effect on it's not so much a treatise on pseudo intellectualism, but rather it's more a focus on the importance of having accountability partners around you, around surrounding yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable in the Lord, because it's very easy for us to be swayed when we are around folks and we fellowship with folks who do not love the Lord, who do not hold our ideas.
Yeah,
We will
yeah.
become more like them. We do need to make friends with the prostitute, the tax collector, etc. We need to. But I'm saying if we don't have accountability partners with us, that's where we're going to fall.
Yeah,
Correct.
I think we just who's ground? Are you fully grounded? The people around with you are
Correct.
grounded.
He will be silent when he ought to speak, and laugh when he ought to be silent. He will assume at first only by his manner, but presently by his words, all sorts of cynical and skeptical attitudes which are not really his. But if you play him well, they may well become his. All mortals tend to turn into the thing they are pretending to be. This is elementary. The real question is how to prepare for the enemy's counterattack. God's. The first thing is to delay as long as possible the moment at which he realizes this new pleasure as a temptation. Since the enemy's servants have been preaching about, quote unquote, the world as one of the great standard temptations for 2,000 years, this might seem difficult to do. But fortunately, they have said very little about it for the last few decades. In modern Christian writings, though I see much, indeed more than I like, about mammon, I see very few of the old warnings about worldly vanities, the choice of friends, and the value of time. In that, your patient will probably refuse, or will probably classify as Puritanism, and may I remark that in passing, that the value we have given to that word is one of the really solid triumphs of the last 100 years. By it, we rescue annually thousands of humans from temperance, chastity, and sobriety of life. Sooner or later, however, the real nature of his new friends must become clear to him, and then your tactics must depend upon the patient's intelligence. If he is a big enough fool, you can get him to realize the character of his friends. Only while they are absent, their presence can be made to sweep away all criticisms. If this succeeds, he can be induced to live, as I have known many humans to live, for quite long periods, two parallel lives. He will not only appear to be, but actually be a different man in each of the circles he frequents. This is where you need accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You need accountability. You need to be around church people. If you are fellowshipping at home all of the time, if you are church via live stream and you do not have human relations, then you are at risk.
Do not forsake the fellowship of the saints, especially all the more as you see the day drawing closer.
That is the verse I was going to. Correct. We must not forsake the fellowship of the saints. Yes, the saints are annoying. Yes, they want to argue over what color we paint this room or that, or they have an issue with the carpets.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
Yes, that happens. Get over it. I have family members right now who are refusing to go to church because of issues with people at their church. Get over it. Move on.
Correct.
And
This is
need the
where,
accountability.
yeah, well, this is what we talked about earlier is the Lord says, forsake not the assembly. He just quoted that. So, but you're choosing your opinion over Scripture.
Correct.
And if God has called you to go to church, maybe your problem is you're at the wrong church.
Or your heart's wrong. One
One or the other, yes.
One
very
or the
good
other.
point.
Maybe you consider a new church, okay? If that's really an issue. But if it's really just Bob and I don't get along, you're not there for Bob, okay?
Correct.
You're not there for Bob.
And you don't have to sit anywhere near him. It's a large church, man. There's a lot of places to sit.
Well, some of these churches are small, but
But
point being,
still.
point being,
Opposite side of the room.
You can figure something out, and you should make do with Bob or Becky or whoever it is.
Right.
So, continuing forward. Failing this, there is a subtler and more entertaining method. He can be made to take a positive pleasure in the perception that the two sides of his life are inconsistent. This is done by exploiting his vanity. He can be taught to enjoy kneeling beside the grocer on Sunday just because he remembers that the grocer could not possibly understand the urbane and mocking world which he inhabited on Saturday evening, and contrariwise, to enjoy the body and blasphemy over the coffee with these admirable friends all the more because he's aware of a deeper spiritual world within him which they cannot understand. You see the idea. The worldly friends touch him on one side and the grocer on the other, and he is the complete, balanced, complexed man who sees round them all. Thus, while being permanently treacherous to at least two sets of people, he will feel instead of shame a continual undercurrent of self-satisfaction. Finally, if all else fails, you can persuade him in defiance of conscience to continue the new acquaintances on the ground that he is, in some unspecified way, doing these people a good by the mere fact of drinking their cocktails, laughing at their jokes, and that to cease to do so would be priggish, intolerant, and, of course, puritanical. Meanwhile, you will, of course, take the obvious precautions of seeing that this new development induces him to spend more than he can afford and to neglect his work and his mother. Her jealousy and alarm and his increasing evasiveness or rudeness will be invaluable for the aggravation of the domestic tension. Your affectionate Uncle Screwtape. All of that to say this: make sure that you have accountability. Make sure you have accountability. Make sure that you have people in your life. Surround yourself with Christians. If you don't know enough Christians who are of the right faith, of the right sort, go find some. Go find some. Final thoughts for the day, Miss Nikki.
I would just say I really liked the beginning with Thomas Paine, and I think it was really serious back then to see how volatile the country was at that time. And even though we are a very strong country, and a lot of people think, well, we can't fall or we can't do this, there's a lot that could happen in our country. But one thing, I don't think I would sit around worrying about that. I think what I would do is to make sure that you're very well equipped in what you believe. Ground yourself in your belief system. Be ready to give an answer. Because somebody on the other side might hear what you have to say, and it might convince them that
100%.
they're wrong.
100%. The things that you don't think people hear. One time when I was young, I had someone say, let's go do this or that. And I said, no, not going to do that. I was a 10-year-old boy. I said, not going to do that. And they said, why
Yeah.
not? No one's watching. And I said, there's two people who will always see you, yourself and God. And neither of those people do I want to have me doing this. You know what? My teacher was right behind the door when she heard that. She told my dad, if I had lived differently, the seat of my pants would have been quite chapped. So it is a good thing. You don't know who's listening. You
Right.
don't know who sees. Final
Yeah.
thoughts.
I was just going to say, talking about accountability and having accountability partners, man, that is such a big thing, John Arthur. And with men, a lot of times it's difficult. And one of the best ways in order to do that is for men to get into a men's ministry.
100%.
I like that.
Whether it is in your church that has one or another church that you have a friend that goes to a church that has one that has acceptable types of beliefs that you agree with,
Yeah.
and get involved with that ministry. And you can find accountability partners and prayer partners that you can deal with and get into meetings and go to and get involved with that men's ministry. And it is one of the best ways for men to get connected and have accountability partners.
That's good.
Find people who actually crack open the Bible. Men who
Correct.
crack open the Bible and they actually
Exactly.
spend time together. And
Amen.
it's men need men's spaces. Women need women's spaces.
Agreed.
And the thing that feminism has done, the Marxist feminism has done in the last few years, is it has destroyed both. It has destroyed women's sports. It has destroyed Boy Scouts. It has destroyed a number of long-held spaces that were meant for the two sexes to be held apart. It's not what I necessarily want to focus on for closing thoughts, but I want to say this. Find, like Steve said, find yourself a ministry that actually opens the Word, that actually cracks open the Bible and is focused on that. If they're watching, I'm going to offend some people. If they're watching Tony Evans stuff but they don't ever crack open the Word and they don't actually ever have application from the Word that they bring, God bless you. That's not deep enough. Dig deeper. I love Tony Evans. He's one of my favorite pastors. Okay. I'm saying if you do not dig into the Word yourself and you were constantly spoon-fed, you are not a man. And you're not a full-grown woman, if I'm speaking to someone of the fair sex. You need to be digging deep. You need to be reading the Scripture. You need to be taking it in so that you can flow it out. What comes in flows out. So what I would say as far as Thomas Paine, Crisis 13 in America, we really, really need to be thinking about where America is going to be in 10 years. And we need to realize that we are way off. We need to begin with the end in mind. Start with today. What can you do today to lead a life that leaves a better posterity for your children? A spiritual one, financial, political, absolutely. But the spiritual in this right alignment will allow everything else to work out. With that said, we got nothing else for you. Hope you have a beautiful day.